If I could send one message to everybody, be it globally, it's lobby your governments, rally your governments, tell them not to trade with the Canadian government. Do not take this dirty oil, this unethical oil. Don't take it out of Canada. Leave it there.
We're organizing a youth exchange this summer to see the Alberta tar sands firsthand on the invitation from the Beaver Lake Cree Nation, bringing together a group of young people from student activists from around the UK concerned about the tar sands, connecting them with young people from the Beaver Lake Cree First Nation in northern Alberta, one of the many communities directly impacted by tar sands oil extraction.
I'm an engineer, or I'm training to be an engineer, so I could go into petroleum, but I see that climate change is a major issue, and I don't think I can just leave it alone.
I basically don't want to go in with too many sort of preconceptions, really.
At my university, there's zero knowledge about tar sands at the moment.
From what I've gathered, they're quite a proud culture and they're very proud of their heritage, and I do have a bit of a fear that I'm going to put my foot in it by accident.
It's their land. They have specific rights that have already been taken away from them significantly, and now it's pretty black and white in terms of environmental cost. It's digging down 100 metres beneath pristine boreal forest to get to some oil which is like tar, but it's bitumen, and it's got clay and it's got sand, and it has to be refined using so much energy and gas and water that, you know, how is it viable?
It's our first day. It's kind of our first 2 days, but it's merged into one really, really long day. We got up at 4 a.m. English time, and now it's about 8 p.m. Canadian time, but we've been up for about 24 hours now.
You get here and you realise just how oil is everything here. Oil is so ingrained in the culture and everyone's lives that nobody here would support it being shut down, and it just makes you realise how much you're up against.
Yeah, we went to a Shell refinery today just to see where the oil actually goes when it's pumped out of the earth, and that was really interesting. As soon as we came in there, a security van immediately came up to us.
If they believe that what they're doing is right, then why should it matter that we're taking pictures?
But now we're officially on the Beaver Lake Cree Nation.
We're currently setting up our tents just near Beaver Lake in the Beaver Lake Cree Reservation, and it's very nice here. It's very sunny. I think we're going to enjoy our stay.
We were with some elders from the Beaver Lake Cree. They were talking about things very personal to them, and they invited us to talk about things personal to us as well, and they held that as quite sacred. So they didn't want it to be filmed.
It was very informal, but at the same time there was something a bit spiritual about it. You know, they said that that was how their ancestors had kind of talked and shared ideas and that sort of thing. So it felt very traditional.
They're talking about the wrongdoings that happened to them with the kind of colonial aggressors, and how it affected them and how it still affects them to this very day, and how, you know, it just seems to be another product of that, what's happening with the tar sands.
You know, in the same way that they feel connected to their ancestors who kind of had these things done to them, you kind of feel connected to your own ancestors who were obviously the people that kind of visited this abuse on them. So it's quite difficult to talk to them and to hear those things without feeling quite kind of guilty and upset that they had to go through it.
I like to think in my own little bubble that kind of the world has learnt from the things that have happened in the past, but I start to doubt that when I realise that it's still happening with things like the tar sands.
We're heading up north right now toward the place called Conklin, small town big industry, relatively. It's the home of a lot of the in situ tar sands mining operations. So it'll be our first chance to see some of that firsthand. Now we've also got Al Lehman, elder from the Beaver Lake Cree community, who's going to be talking with us as we're going through those sites as to some of the changes he's seen in his lifetime.
Feeling a bit anxious about it because I think that they're not going to want us to be there. I think it's highly likely that either, security personnel, the police are going to turn up and be displeased that we're around. I think we're going to be playing it fairly safe. I don't think we're going to push it too hard. But at the same time, I do think we owe it to ourselves to try and get as close as we can and, record as much as we can of it.
At the moment, all we can see are closed off operations that we're not allowed to go into, and trucks along the side of the road. And we're just trying to find a place that we can enter.
We did see a sign that asked us all to very kindly recycle.
Yeah, we saw a sign saying please recycle, so at least they care.
So we've just stopped the car briefly, we can see here one of the seismic lines is a pipe that cuts through right in between those trees there. And that's one of the issues for the caribou and the wildlife here because, they're not really comfortable having that cutaway in their forests and it's completely changing the dynamics of where they can run around and where they can be. So this is one of the things that's being currently brought up in the sort of fight to save the caribou at the moment, who are incredibly endangered here.
Yeah, we're in front of a gas pipeline which is supplying gas for the steam-assisted gravity drainage. They burn gas to heat water to make steam, then they pump the steam down into the ground, it heats up the bitumen and that makes it less viscous, so it can be, the oil can be pumped back up to the ground and then refined and reprocessed, and 80% of the tar sands are extracted using this method.
This used to be the virgin wilderness, as you might say. Not anymore. It's just, you can see all these pipelines going through here, and all the damage that's being done to the environment is happening right here. This is just a little spot, but they're all over. It's like that all over. We used to be able to drink water anywhere, actually, right here. Drink water, and it was good water. But not anymore. You can't do that anymore. That's all gone now.
Okay, at the moment we are driving up to what we think is the in situ site, and we turned onto a private road which we're pretty much sure we're not allowed to be on. So at the moment we're just driving and waiting to be stopped by the authorities, but so far so good.
We just got eyed up. Did we just get eyed by security?
We just got eyed up. They've stopped. And that truck that just drove by saw you with the camera and stopped.
It saw the camera.
We got you.
Lake powwow, it's kind of where all the indigenous people from around Canada kind of come together. A few people come from other parts of North America.
Can you tell us a bit more about the powwow?
The powwow it's a bringing together of people for not only our community but other communities to come together and like a common good, I guess. It's very spiritual, I guess you could say. It means a lot to our culture and what we are as a people.
Do you think young people really appreciate having this cultural tradition? Would you say that?
I believe so, yeah. Like it gives you a chance of social interacting and stuff. Getting to know your culture and your traditions, where you came from.
They had us in their kind of welcoming ceremony. We were given the kind of welcome that foreign dignitaries get, which was quite overwhelming. They introduced us as activists who are here to fight the tar sands, and actually we got a really, really warm welcome.
From the United Kingdom, people and the planet, please help me welcoming Pierre Marshall to say a few words, please.
Firstly, I'd like to thank you for this wonderful welcome, and we are very grateful for the opportunity to learn about your situation and your struggle from first-hand experience. We hope to raise awareness of this struggle in the United Kingdom.
We've just been to the opening ceremony of the powwow, and we got to dance around in the circle with all the chiefs and the other dancers. I expected a lot of dancing when I came here, but some of the guys, some of them are quite old and they're still dancing harder than we could, and they're still going, so it's very impressive and we're trying to keep up.
We sort of tried to shuffle along to the music, and then some of the kind of professional traditional dancers were sort of dancing around us, and then all the different ages and genders and types of dance all come in one by one in groups and come round you in circles until you're kind of in the middle of this crazy swirl of colours. Nothing I've ever done will top this.
I'm feeling really great and really positive, and it feels so good to be welcomed by everyone so warmly.
It hurts me, when we think about what's happening to our environment, how this is affecting our environment, but yet we can still have that in the back of our minds. But if somebody offers us $30 an hour to go and dig a hole for another oil derrick, we'll do it. How do you instill into someone to choose life over money?
Big round of applause for the Makaho Juniors drum.
That's the biggest thing.
When do you find out about extraction happening or some sort of oil development in the area?
I just know that like one day the trees were there and the next day they were gone. And it's crazy, like everything that's happening. But I appreciate what you guys are doing here, like trying to help us fight those companies. I really appreciate that.
I feel that their kind of faith in what we might be able to do for them has made me feel rejuvenated and much, much better about what's coming.
Today we were looking at the in situ site of the oil extraction and destruction and devastation, seismic lines and diggers, and then we came straight from there to here, which is a celebration of their culture, and it's so beautiful, and it's just set in such a high contrast, and it makes us appreciate even more why we're here and what is at stake in terms of what they're going to lose, not only in their environment, in their culture as well.
Worked in the oil field for about, 3 or 4 years, and right around, there's the plant around the whole area, and then right in the middle there's Indian burial grounds there, and it's all fenced off, and I had to drive by that every day, and they're doing so much more to that spot. They got their all the wellheads right around that burial site, and it didn't make me feel good. Like Indians, we call the earth our Mother Earth, and I think about it as my mom. And like say my mom was laying there, and where everybody's sticking needles in her, taking out her blood, you know, she's gonna get sick. That's the same thing with the earth, you know, losing the life that it has, and you know, and we call the sky, you know, our grandfather, our father's sky, and in a way, the father is watching the mother get sick, and so he's, you know, he's trying to give her water to make her healthy, and you know, it explains all the crazy weather, the rain, and you know, the tornadoes. Or my mom tells me that the tornadoes are a way of cleaning the earth, and it's a spirit, and so is the rain, and you know, it's the mother that's, you know, she's paying for the greed, and you know, people are taking things out of her for material reasons, and you know, it's just getting worse.
About to come into Fort McMurray, I think. We've been driving north from Beaver Lake for about 2.5 hours in this very small, tiny truck that runs on yogurt. We're going to go meet some people from Suncor, PR people who are there to sort of try and convince us that what they're doing up here at Fort McMurray is all very reasonable and not impacting on the landscape and on the environment.
Their role is to try and green up the whole tar sands, the whole oil sands exploration project, and make it seem kind of appealing.
And I really hope that we come out feeling kind of that we've made an impact on them as well as them, like rather than them trying to, you know, persuade us that what they're doing is fine.
Just from talking to a lot of the locals in Lac La Biche, we've heard people saying a lot about how the oil companies do a lot for the environment in terms of reclaiming land after they've finished extracting. But obviously that kind of misses the bigger picture of the amount of carbon they're emitting. So we're hoping we'll be able to really pin this executive down.
It's going to be quite interesting, I think. I'm quite interested to hear kind of what they've got to say. They're obviously, you know, right there in the middle of the industry. I'm sure there'll be lots of stuff they can tell us that we don't know about yet, but I think, you know, we'll have to take everything with quite a large handful of salt.
Yeah, I've just got some questions that I'm going to run past you. I'm just figuring out what we're going to do.
Yeah, I was thinking about the way that a lot of the Indian community is sort of being co-opted into the industry to like fight against as in a sort of move of defiance against the stereotype that they've been placed with. I mean,
they can say how it's a breach of treaty rights, but then they could say that, oh, that's to do with the government, that's not to do with us. Like, if the government let us go there, then that's fine, but we could put it on a more personal level, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it still should be mentioned because that's the responsibility of the business, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Becca and Pierre will probably cover that as well.
How do you justify extracting tar sands oil on land that belongs to First Nations communities? And so they might argue that it doesn't belong to them, but that it did before. But that's only if we have like the opportunity to say that.
Yeah, I think we just got to figure out where things fit in and just do it spontaneously. You can't like go around the table with different questions. It's just got to flow.
It takes some time.
Hi, Mark.
Hi,
Becca.
I'm Colleen. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Angela. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
We grilled them for about 2.5 hours about their feelings on the environmental impacts of Suncor.
We were able to be firm, we were able to be knowledgeable, we were able to say the things that needed to be said, and I think we were able to get a message through. So I don't expect any immediate changes to come out of this, but I think it's definitely an important step in the process.
They were far too eager to blame emissions on China and kind of ignore the fact that kind of per capita that, you know, Canada is far more polluting.
But I think we all handled the situation really well. That, I mean, we didn't turn into sort of attack mode. We didn't just tear them to pieces, which I'm sure part of all of us would have loved to do at a visceral level, just because these are the people that represent all the things we're opposed to at the moment.
It was the resignation that you can never change those things that I think really kind of upset me. But in terms of climate change, it just seems like it's just a little too late, and I feel quite hopeless right now.
Quite a shock, really, just to come out of the meeting a few minutes ago with the Suncor people, you know, telling us all about the efforts that they're making to reduce the environmental impacts, all their targets for reducing carbon emissions, reducing emissions to water, and then to go kind of directly and actually see, it wasn't their operation, it was Syncrude, I think, that we just went past, but essentially their operations are exactly the same. It's just a massive contrast. Just kind of brings home, you know, just how much of a, you know, corporate social responsibility veneer they're trying to put on their operations. There's just absolutely no way of mitigating the impact of that kind of operation.
Okay, so behind me is Syncrude's extraction site at Fort McMurray. It's an incredible sort of smell around here, like the acid in the air is getting in my nose and in my mouth, and it tastes so horrible. You can't really see that on camera, but the magnitude of the operations going on here is massive.
Just over there they've got scarecrows all around dotted around the place. And they're setting off these little explosions, like bam, 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 in order to basically scare away the birds from being, you know, bogged down in the toxic sludge.
I just noticed a danger, no trespassing sign up there, and that kind of really hit home, because I was like, this should not be corporate land. This is nature that's being completely destroyed. I don't know, it's just the sound of the sonic booms, it's like it's a battlefield or something, and it's like the energy companies are just kind of fighting Mother Earth.
I can't believe it's just off a public highway. I can't believe they're so sort of almost proud to show it, because it's a pretty disgusting thing.
Environmentally responsible. It just doesn't seem possible.
So the trucks, the security are really not happy with us seeing this, so they're following us. We were there for quite a bit, and they didn't notice. We were standing around the site for 15 minutes, half an hour. So yeah, it was an experience.
So at the moment we're heading back to the motel. We've just been to the tailings, to see the tailings ponds and some of the open mine extraction processes. We've just done that having gone straight from a Suncor meeting. We literally just pretty much jumped in the cars and came straight over here. And we were saying, like, we felt it was a really good thing that we kind of kept it together, and we were really sort of polite and friendly, and I think that it's great and it's important. But I wonder how differently we would have reacted, or how we may have been had we visited the tailing ponds that we've just been to before going to the meeting, because you know that you can't regulate your way out of how destructive that process is going to be, but you feel like at least they believe that. But then this is just down the road from where they're working, and you know, it's just horrific.
We were told that the new technology allows the tailing ponds to be kind of filtered and reclaimed within 10 years. And it's just very, very strange that they've never actually seen that work before, yet they can tell us that in 10 years' time it will be completely fine and wildlife will be able to live there again. Whereas now they've got sonic booms and scarecrows in order to scare off wildlife. It seems, I don't see how it works.
We're just packing up the camp, and everyone's a bit sad to say goodbye to our campsite because it's been our home for the last 2 weeks.
The aim is to go to Alberta Environment, so that all the office workers there will see our demonstration. Because it's all very well having environmental agencies, but if they just go with whatever the government and whatever the oil companies want them to do, then they're kind of not really doing anything. I think it would be worth it if even just a couple of people at Alberta Environment kind of took note and started to think about the position that they're in and whether they're actually having a positive impact on the environment. To a certain extent, people like Alberta Environment can fob you off, but when it actually comes down to climate science, they have no comeback for that at all. They can't have an excuse for what they're doing in terms of climate change because there isn't one.
We're just doing a protest outside the Alberta Environment Office. We have got a banner saying Albertans don't turn a blind eye to the tar sands, and we're putting out 4 different environmental issues that the Environment Office haven't been looking into.
Well, I'm currently blindfolded because I'm representing the Alberta Environment Regulators, and they are choosing to turn a blind eye to the damage that the tar sands are causing.
There's been a lot of media coverage, like way more than I was expecting. We've had about sort of 4 different crews down from various news stations, which has been really exciting. And just done like a bunch of interviews and spoken to people about why we're here. And it's quite funny because the tone of each interview has been really quite different, like blatantly varying from like, what are you doing here? And isn't this just a fantasy, through to like being quite supportive. And so it's been interesting. It's been really good to have that response.
I really hope that at least the people working here will notice us and start thinking more about these issues. In terms of wider audiences, I hope that the media people can take back a message and give it to the people in the local town, because we've talked to people and lots of them don't seem to know much about the tar sands.
Well, I just tried to hand a leaflet to somebody who just left the building here, and I just explained. She was like, "Oh, that's what you're doing." So I explained a bit, and she was like, "Well, I work for Alberta Environment, and I just want to say that what I think you're doing is great." So that was really nice to have that.
A group of 8 student activists from the UK.
So we've been sat in the TV room at our youth hostel for about an hour, going through 2 news channels with rolling news and checking it all the time. And then we came on all of a sudden after a story about some crows with excellent memory. And yeah, they covered all of the issues. It was quick, but they actually, went through water contamination and climate change. So it was very, very exciting.
So we're pretty much getting ready to leave now. We're leaving the hostel in about half an hour. I feel a bit weird about leaving, mainly just because it's just such a different world. I mean, we've really, really lived this, I think, as much as we can, and it's been awesome just being with this group. I feel like we've developed some really good sort of relationships in terms of working, campaigning, but also just really good friendships, and that's really nice. But there's so much that we're going to be bringing home from Canada, from here, from the Beaver Lake Cree, and what we've learned about the tar sands. So yeah, really excited about things we're going to put into action over there.
Being away from Canada for the first time, this is a completely different experience for me. Yesterday at Edmonton International, I almost turned around because of my kids. I've never left them, and I miss them.
I feel obligated to come and speak out on the tar sands, as well as the abuse that the Aboriginal people and people generally within the area, because the voice isn't being heard. We are very much so a nation where anybody who speaks out against it is being silenced, because that's Canada's source of economic power and wealth. It is true we do have other things such as forestry and mining, but nothing compares to the tar sands.
I don't really feel like I've had time to even kind of reflect where I am. I mean, when I was frantically trying to get ready, at a moment in the bathroom where I was like, wait, whoa, like, you're not just down the road, like, you're in London, England.
I'm here to speak for the people that can't speak for themselves in Canada. But there's a group of people here in the UK that care about us. They care about us as First Nations people and the plights that we're enduring. I'm here because my voice might have an influence. I might be able to say something to influence somebody so that we can, if not stop the tar sands, we can stall it. If I can influence just one person, I've done my job.
We just came from the Department of Transport and meeting with Norman Baker's assistants. Civil servants, there we go. That's the word I was looking for. I'm hoping we made an impact on them as from a human's perspective instead of a financial gain.
I mean, it was a good chance to speak. Did they hear me? I don't know. I'm not feeling too optimistic right now. But I guess ultimately, unless you live there and you breathe that every day, and you eat the stuff that comes from that every day, and you drink the water that's chemicals are leached into every day, only then can you fully understand why we're so passionate about this and why we're so emotional.
Always remain optimistic. always remain optimistic. So.
Thank you, Chance. I needed that. Oh, I needed that. We heard about a protest that the university students from all over the UK have gathered today to protest against the UK government's cuts to their post-secondary education.
Because, I mean, you're trying to do something better for yourself and you know you're getting no help from the government, no help from nobody, so I can see where these guys are coming from.
I thought it very important, personally for myself, to come here today in support of these university students, as I'm currently doing an after degree.
Kind of nervous, actually. There's a lot of people and heard some kind of crazy stories. There's going to be kind of a riot police and all of that stuff, so kind of nervous for it, but at the same time really excited.
I'm scared. I really do feel scared. I have like major anxiety right now.
Well, we're in the middle of the rally now. We caught up and I have no clue where we are. I am completely lost.
Wow. How's it going? Still getting used to the whole time change. I'm very tired, but I'm so excited to be here.
I managed to get some leaflets from Pierre, so I've been handing them out.
To be in the middle of everything, I feel like you really, really are participating in a part of it. It's quite a unique experience, not gonna lie. Wasn't quite expecting this when I came to Europe.
Angel Station.
I'm such a tourist. I am eating the most amazing fish and chips and sitting on a double-decker bus, driving down the streets of London, and it's awesome.
Thank you all for being here. I think this is an amazing thing that all of you and all of us are a part of here. NASA scientist Jim Hansen had said that basically if we exploit all of the oil in the tar sands, we will push the whole planet to runaway climate change. We are really, really privileged right now to have Crystal and Chance here.
Ai kakio. Thank you to all of you. Your motivation inspires me. The way you've all come together for a purpose. It's the motivation that my people back home need. We suffer every single day. We're fighting every single day. So our children can have clean drinking water. So the sustainability in the environment will be there. So that we can always go to the land. To hunt, to fish, to forage. Like it was promised to us in 1876 when that treaty was signed. We're human beings too, and we need your help. We need your help to rally your government. Tell them that there are an entire people that are affected by this. An entire population that are suffering unimaginable pain.
It is really a personal struggle for me to come here and speak to you guys about this particular situation, because my father actually works in the oil industry. He has his whole life. And what myself, Crystal, and everybody at Shared Planet is trying to do is we're trying to persuade the European Union to not trade with the tar sands. We're trying to prevent this industrial monster from expanding even more. There have been over 19,000 treaty violations done specifically by industry. They want to expand by 4 times. Yeah, that's right. So I'm begging you to please put pressure on your government to not trade with the tar sands.
This is the Rainbow Warrior, the 3rd Greenpeace boat. And we got invites to this event. So there it is. And I'm so excited.
We're in London and we're attending the Greenpeace launch, the official launch of Rainbow Warrior 3.
So here's like this, you know, the 3rd Greenpeace boat, and then Tower Bridge, just like right there. It's amazing.
Hello, everybody. Welcome on board. Well, this is a real advancement for Greenpeace. I mean, it's the first time we've had a purpose-designed ship, and this ship is designed to sail. Yeah. It's very good. Nice to meet you. Thanks. Yeah, very nice to meet you too. I'll come in. I can show you a few things in the bridge.
This is the bridge.
Yeah.
As you see, it's the center of the control center of the ship. For the nautical part, we have 2 radars, and we have an electronic sea chart as well as the paper sea chart here.
The whole point of doing this is to support our campaigns to ensure that we can get public policy victories. And so there'll always be a couple of campaigners, a press officer, an action coordinator that designs the direct actions, and they will meet and work in here all day.
Dumbstruck is a good term, putting it mildly.
There's no words. There's seriously no words.
That was just definitely a life-altering experience right there, for sure.
But just the thought while we were going around and looking at all the, it looks all fancy and amazing equipment, but the fact that these guys and that ship is going to be in all sorts of situations over the next 20, 30 years, for the rest of my life I'm going to be seeing that on the news, involved in, you know, the cutting edge fight against climate change. And I'll know that I've been on it, and it'll be a
first experience,
a massive thrill, massive thrill. And I really want to get a job working on that ship now. That's my new ambition.
And then I mean, even just to be on there and feel the power of all those people that were there and knowing what their purpose is makes us wish, or rather makes me wish we had oceans surrounding the tar sands, because they'd bring this big ship in there and be like, stop it. It was very uplifting.
We just left London Paddington Station, and we're on a train to Oxford. Everything is very fast-paced. I know now why I'm so connected to our land and connected to what it is that we're trying to preserve, because I definitely don't want to be developed like this.
Like, do you guys realize how lucky you are? Like, seriously. Like, if I want to go and hear something about, you know, say Big Bear, you know, who is the chief that rebelled against the treaties, or Treaty 6. You know, there's nothing that exists to say like this was his, or he lived here, you know, where you could go and feel his, you know, his presence. And these big, huge, massive, beautiful buildings are here.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody. I truly would. I'd like to thank you all for supporting us. I'd like to thank you all for respecting all culture. I feel an obligation to be here, not only for myself, not only to support Crystal, but to get a voice of the Aboriginal people heard.
a voice that is deliberately chosen to not be heard by Canadian government. To Canadian government, the Aboriginal people are not viewed as people, but a parasite, a burden, a financial burden. And I'm so very thankful that you guys come here and support us. And this force that we are provoking, once it gets going, it isn't going to know social class, financial wealth, creed, color, religion. Once it comes for all of us. And I have faith that as a society, as a global society, that we will choose our own humanity over our financial wealth.
We're just about to go to Tar Sands Free with the Beaver Lake Crew tonight. I'm very excited about it. It's at Birmingham University. Chance and Crystal are going to do a talk this evening in one of our lecture theatres.
It's an area the size of England. That area itself has been completely wiped out. Completely. No trees. No living things. Nothing. The water is dirty, it's contaminated. There's this little girl. She's the same age as my daughter. She's 2 years old. She was having convulsions, she was fevered, and they kept rushing her to the hospital. They didn't know what was wrong with her. This little girl went to the daycare center in our community, in that community. She drank that water. They finally airlifted her to the local university hospital. They found out that her body was contaminated. She was sick because she drank contaminated water. She could have died. Here's Canada, this great developed country, the free land. But you have First Nations people, the first peoples of Canada, living in third world conditions. And you have a government that wants this oil. And if that happens, what we're enduring right now is going to expand 4 times. Of people displaced, of people destroyed. We're human beings too. And I'm here because I wanted to tell you my story, a reality that's being hidden. Thank you. I'm grateful to all of you, all my relations.
Just meeting people, Indigenous peoples from the First Nation Cree communities and hearing their first-hand experiences is something that you can never get from a piece of paper or from, a website or something like that.
It's my responsibility, along with everyone else's, to participate in the actions and any sort of campaigns, such as petitions or anything that might help stop this happening.
And do whatever you can. If you're an artist, make art. If you do photography, do photography. Just, whatever it is, if you sing about it. All of us have a role to play. All of us can get involved in stopping the tar sands expansion.
But since I've been here, it's just this meeting so many people that are just really good, kind people, loving people, people that really do care about us. And it's just given me that optimism and that motivation and the positive feelings that I needed, that I was looking for.
We did quite a bit of speaking. We did tons of interviews. We did a student rally, which was just absolutely phenomenal. That was probably one of the top highlights of my trip. Everywhere we went, there was just nothing but support.
And it's made me believe in humanity as a whole. And that's happened in a week. That's something that would normally take somebody years.
The support I got renewed my faith in humanity. The public transit system in London almost killed it.
That if I can influence just one person, then I've served my purpose. But the fact that I came here and I influenced so many people, you know, when I got so many people excited about helping us, and that gives me the motivation to move forth and continue on this journey. If I could send one message to everybody, be it globally, it's lobby your governments, rally your governments, tell them not to trade with the Canadian government. Do not take this dirty oil, this unethical oil. Don't take it out of Canada. Leave it there.
The exchange has been really, really useful for this campaign. I really think so. For one, just knowing this from such a human level really makes people engage with it to a much greater extent.
Talking to people and having that perspective directly from those who are being affected and who are having their culture, you know, really put at risk, and it's a beautiful culture and it's a beautiful way of seeing the world, has been great.
I think the group's greatest achievement, for me at least, was probably some of the really good links that we made with some of the Cree people.
I've actually changed course from chemical engineering to civil and energy engineering. The energy side of it is me trying to put something positive towards the massive energy crisis that we have.
The biggest achievement was showing the Beaver Lake Cree that there is an international solidarity movement there, ready to support them.
I think we're really getting the word out and starting to get people really motivated to do something about the tar sands.
I'm really excited because it just seems to be, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
The most important thing we need to do is get the message out there about the tar sands. We need to let people know, and together we can do it.